This video is part 2 of a series where I'm playing through Pathologic 3 Quarantine demo and showing off every secret, glitch, and out-of-bounds thing that I know of in the game. I highly recommend watching the first one first, because we are smack dab in the middle of a playthrough. This should be obvious, but there are major spoilers ahead for the free demo, which you should get before you can't get it anymore. Probably gonna come back as a DLC. That's what they did with the last time Pathologic did this, but really, who knows? It's still too far into the future to see. Pathologic has made a post announcing that they are not going to continue patching Quarantine, so this is going to be the final build of the game, which is good news for me because that means I don't have to re-record this video. They will be continuing work on the game itself, obviously, this time with things that they've learned with Quarantine and the audience's response to it. The biggest one is that where originally Quarantine was apparently supposed to be the literal introduction to the Pathologic 3 game, now they are gonna go back and redo some of the events. So between making the first video and making the second video, some people have shown me even more stuff that I didn't know about. So real quickly, this gate that I showed off in the previous video, there is a particular angle that we can clip through and activate the fast travel loading zone from outside of the closed gate. I have not tested every single door, but there might be other gates where we can do this. If you're like me and you hold down sprint the entire time you're playing this game, you will notice that sometimes Danielle stops sprinting mysteriously. What's going on is that underneath the hood, there is a stamina bar. Daniel can sprint for around 10 seconds, and afterwards he needs 10 more seconds to let his stamina bar recharge, during which he can't sprint. If our metabolism is anywhere on the depressed side, we can't sprint at all. And if we max out on Mania, then we have infinite sprint. Did you know that instead of clicking and dragging our items into our quick slots, we can just press Control click? Because I sure didn't. It took a YouTube comment on my speedruns to learn about it. And look, if you already have that item in your quick slot, control clicking them just stacks them on top of them. Why did nobody tell us this? Also, how many of you noticed the press F to take all button? I have a lot of speedrunning to do now. This kid on the Institute map that I mentioned is baked into the map itself. His selection box is animated. He's the only object I've found in the game that's like this. Here he is again. Why is it only him that's like that? Andy North on one of their videos on Quarantine points out this pathway of hands that happens when you go into investigation mode. I can't seem to find this in the current version of the game. This might only exist in the vanilla version. Still very cool, I did not know about this. And one more trick before we get into it. Did you know that pressing the arrow keys moves our camera around very slowly? I am not sure what the use case for it is. And one more thing. Even when you have streamer mode on, this one step bride is showing some nipples. One more thing. Pathologic 3's map is the same as Pathologic 2's in terms of the actual lines and walls drawn, but outside of the town, there are more shenanigans. We do see the Kin village in the bottom right, but we see it expanded and going off onto the other side of the river. And on the other side of the river, we also see more settlements, as well as more doodles and drawings and coffee stains. In the very, very bottom, we see a little bit of derailed trains. There's a quote right here in the center bottom. The quote in the very top, I've been told, is from Dante's Inferno. There's more drawings in the top left, as well as a compass. And there's a little picture of a bull in the bottom left. Alright, Skinners, there's not much to show here, so instead I'm just gonna go into free camera to zoom out, and looking around we immediately see a pixel out on the edge of the map. You would think that this is another wheelbarrow, but it's actually this small still life of objects. They probably had this out in the corner so they could quickly move it in and out and copy and paste throughout the environment, and they just forgot to remove it. That's my guess anyway. From here we can see that the polyhedron is on this map. Like I mentioned before, this version of the polyhedron is from Pathologic 2. Getting closer to it, we'll be sad to discover that the wheelbarrow that was in the hindquarters map is not here. Returning to first person, right next to us is the termitary, and we'll notice that those pathways that we saw on the previous map are not here. We've got debug move on. There is a playground right in front of Filat's house. In it, we have this spinning thing that is interactable under some angles for some reason.
My head hurts.
Interacting with it gives us a bit of apathy. There is a swing set that does say use on it, but interacting with it does nothing. There's not even an animation. But it looks like it's trying to play the animation, but it's just failing. Looking through the debug scene selection, we can notice that the files for the swings is just not the correct ones for the functional ones. Right by where Filat's house is also Peter Stamadin's house. It's mostly exactly how it was in Pathologic 2, except his bathtub now is red. Interacting with the door does nothing. And there's no clipping shenanigans. That I know of, at least. The Sabrov's house is on this map, is just out of bounds, and because it's out of bounds and they don't expect players to be over here, the ground is just grass textures, there's no pathways here. Alexander's house is not interactable, but Katerina's door is interactable, and just like Griff's Lair, if we open it, we will get a little bit of her theme music. So someone went digging in the game files and found all the music and uploaded them to YouTube. And they label this song that plays here as Alex Sabarov's theme. So apparently this being played here might be just a placeholder, and instead this is Katarina's theme. Moving on with the story, anyone who's watched my speedrunning videos will know that you can actually go into Filat's house from the back door, but it will load you in through the front door. There isn't too much to show here except for the free camera mode. Zooming out, we are blind, but as our eyes focus, we'll notice that the rooms that we can't enter are textured inside, but it's just a plain white texture. It kind of reminds me of an unfinished Sims house. Here we see Filat's neighbor loaded in, even though the door is closed. But in here, we'll notice that the boy is not loaded in, and he only loads in when we are given the key to the room. While we are in free camera mode, we can still interact with things and with NPCs. So if we talk to her and get the key, and quickly fly over to Filat's room, we get to see the boy's animation of sitting down. I don't know why that's there. So to progress, we are meant to investigate some of these objects. There are 2 objects on the table here. It doesn't matter which one of these 2 rotting foods we scan, so long as we scan one of them, and we gotta scan the mousetrap that everyone misses their first time and gets frustrated. Before patch 3, there used to be a glitch here during the Filat's house sequence where you would come in and the door's already open and the NPCs are already loaded in, and it progresses normally up until you get to the hospital, at which point you cannot open the doors. This would happen every other new game pretty consistently, and me as a speedrunner at the time, I was running into it constantly, to the point where I would start a new game just to close it and start a second new game with every attempt. But since patch 3, that's all been fixed.
Yeah, we're locked out.
Leaving Filat's house, we of course meet the trader girl. On our way back to the theater, I'm gonna show off a few speedrunning strategies. The first one is right here. We can go on top of these rocks by just walking on top of them. Be careful not to fall into that hole. If you do, you will need a jump button to get out of it. And here at the gate, going through it, it will prompt us with the fast travel map. Now most people just click on our final destination. By doing so, of course, as we all know, we get interrupted by the dangerous district. Now we have to go through the dangerous district on foot. But instead, if we click on the dangerous district itself, and we simply turn around, we will notice that the door is open. And if we go through it and click on our final destination, we skip the dangerous district. This works because there are two forms of town exploration that Pathologic 3 recognizes. One form is when we choose a destination on the map. We become locked into this navigation until we reach our final destination's district. On this path, if we are interrupted by a dangerous district, we load in and we are meant to play through it. During this district, all fast travel gates are closed and turned off, meaning if you do somehow clip out of bounds and activate the fast travel screen, you still won't be able to fast travel. Only the intended exit is open, let alone functioning. I call this the travel state. More so, at no point can we redo our navigation or change our destination. So in a hypothetical situation where we have to go through a dangerous district and we spend a lot of our resources, we may want to go back where we came from or go somewhere else or change our game plan for the day. We can't do that with how this fast travel system works right now. The other form of town exploration is when we are not in this travel state, as if we are in our final destination and are not going anywhere else. In this form, we are not locked into going anywhere, so all fast travel zones, whether closed or not, are active and will fast travel you anywhere else you want, even when it involves moving through the district you are currently in, regardless of whether it's dangerous or not. It's a little bit of oversight that we can kind of abuse in quarantine. It's probably going to be fixed by the time the full game is out, so enjoy it while it lasts. Here we are at Filat's diagnosis, and just because I intentionally failed the diagnoses of the other patients, I'm going to intentionally fail Filat's diagnosis as well, because we get a little fun little Easter egg letter if we do. And check our notes. We get a note from an unsigned sender that sounds like it's from Aspity. And if we check Luda's and Finch's, we have Yakko also telling us how much of a bad job we're doing, which are very funny. Exiting the theater on the second time, we'll show these two tragedians playing dice. This seems to be a reused animation asset from Pathologic 2, specifically from the intro sequence where we see them doing this on top of the train car. That same fast travel exploit we can also do on the gut and just entirely skip the gut, but since I want to show you guys around, I'm not going to bother. The guts map does have a bunch of secrets I can show off. The first one is that if you make a manual save using debug mode and you load up this map directly, it will load up without any of the muggers. Guess how I found out? So retrying from a different save, it works just fine. So most people take one look in this direction, which is more direct, and notice that it's barricaded, and so they just turn this way and go through this maze, running into all those muggers that are up ahead. This is reinforced when we bring up our map, and we notice that our map path has now been updated with a new zigzag through the district. Whereas before, it was a straight shot through the gut, now it does this S shape. So by all means, going this way is the intended path. But, as anyone who's watched my speedruns knows, we can just get over that barrier no problem. And we can even get over this next barrier too. So this opens up the entire Olgimsky backyard to us. And as we go in there, we notice that there is a mugger in here as well, and there's actually a second mugger around the corner there. This seems to be a leftover from an earlier build in the game, one where the gut was more open and less railroaded, and where we could explore more and make our own path. I would imagine that in testing, a lot of players were getting lost and panicked trying to run away from all these muggers. So at some point or another, they decided to set up these barriers to make the area less confusing, which I think is the correct decision. Oh, so the mugger here has finally noticed me, and but that's alright because we are right next to Capella's house, whose front door is conveniently has no collision. And the mugger does not know how to use it, so we are safe. Here you really get an appreciation for how big Ogimski's house is. Don't mind Capella hanging out on the front porch there. Oh hey, Yulia's chair and coffee table are up there on that balcony. That's pretty neat. So for the next demonstration, I need more bullets. I loaded a save, and I'm not sure just how many bullets we have. There appears to be a bullet in one of the holes, but I think that might be just a glitch. But I know that that box over there is interactable, and that always has a bullet for us. So now we definitely have one bullet. Coming back over here, I'm not sure where the smugger went. Oh, he has partially clipped into the Ogimski house. Are you okay, sir? You seem to be broken. Very cool. So moving on, there is one more reliable bullet location, and that's over here behind this man here. There's a box over there right behind him. So for the sake of demonstration, let's mess with this guy. Once they make line of sight view, they go aggro on you. If you point your gun at them, they momentarily become passive. Once their timer runs out, they return to being aggressive. If we just shoot them, they just disappear, and we gain a whole bunch of apathy. For a split second, we see a loot option, but that only happens for one frame and then disappears as the model disappears. There is a loot mechanic, it's just not very well explained, or rather, it's not explained at all, and the only way to run into it is to run into it naturally. But there is a surrender mechanic. There are two ways I know how to trigger this mechanic. The first one is when you have at least two muggers and you have one of them watch you shoot the other. It'll trigger it. The other method is when you have bullets to spare and you intentionally miss them. Usually it takes 2 or more bullets. They will go into surrender state as well. From here, you can loot them. They sometimes carry a pen. This is the only way to get this item. It has no use for us in quarantine, but it's got a little bit of flavor text. Unlike the hands up mechanic from before, where they momentarily go passive, once they go into a surrender state, they stay in a surrender state permanently until you leave the district and come back, rather. But then I'm pretty sure they all respawn anyway at that point. This door over here, this gate leads into the warehouses. If when we were fast traveling, we clicked on the gut itself, this gate would be open and we could use it to fast travel. And if we walk over here, we'll find another barrier with 2 more muggers. The barricades block off this section here, which I would imagine would be playable if this area wasn't in chaos. Oh, and this man just no clip through that barricade. I have not seen that happen.
Hold it.
Okay. So if you intentionally miss, you can get multiple of them to surrender at the same time as well. That's cool. I have not found a way to get over there. That man somehow did. We just watched him clip out of it. So maybe that means we can as well, but I haven't found it yet. There is a playground here, right in front of the Ogimski house. We have a seesaw that functions, a second seesaw that functions, and a swing that does not. Another thing that a lot of players miss is that there are 2 different kinds of muggers. There's the ones that we run into walking around who like start beating up on us, and there's the ones that stand on the balconies and throw bottles at us. They are not very good at throwing. And when the bottles land, there's a little like cloud animation that happens, but there's no sound to it. So if you run through this area and you somehow get hit by something invisible and you don't know what it is, it's probably these things. There's no indicator that they are happening unless you're actively looking for them. They function the same way as other muggers do. If you point your gun at them, they will temporarily stop being aggro, and you can also get them to go into a surrender state.
Closer.
That do it? Yep, that did it. There's no real way to get up there except with a jump, so let me jump up there. And we can loot them this way, and they'll have the same items as the other muggers. In some of my attempts to play around with them, I got them to T-pose. Let me see if I can't do it with this one. That is very goofy. We are obviously not meant to be up here.
Got you. Come over here.
Oh, so that's a thing we can do. It is strange that these balcony guys, they do not punch, they only throw bottles, and the ones on the ground do not throw bottles, they only punch. This barrier over here is also skippable, and it's skippable both ways. Is you just gotta kind of like get up on these sandbags, and boom, you're over here. Sadly, there isn't much to do on this section of the map. You could explore this area over here, but this area, there's not much to do here. There's a whole bunch of invisible walls. Can't get around except with debug move. That gate over there, leading to hindquarters, is sadly closed, and the collision for it functions just fine. But the bridge here does not have any collision. I believe the fast travel is still here and functions. There seems to be an invisible wall around that loading zone, and I can't seem to get back because of that invisible wall. So let me go the long way back, which is conveniently going to be through the warehouse districts. Man, there's invisible walls all the way back here, huh? This warehouse building still has no collision, but the others do. Let me test the broken heart door. No, still nothing. 2 of the 3 chimneys have collisions. This one over here you can actually get inside of. The one above the broken heart has a collision at the very top, so you can just stand on the very top of the chimney. And the one closest to Artemis' house has no collision at all. They do have textures inside the actual chimney, but they only go down so far before it terminates. And same with this one. You're just kind of like in this chimney pit well thing. Coming back in to the district through the warehouse, we have more buildings and warehouses. Just like on the previous map in the previous video, if we open Griff's door, it will soft lock us and play Griff's theme music. But unlike last time, Ruben's door over here works now and also soft locks us and plays Ruben's theme music. Okay, let's actually go into free camera now. So this is what the map looks like from far away. If we look around carefully, I don't know if the YouTube compression is gonna pick this up, but there are little tiny dots outside the map. So let's go check those out. First one I see is over here. There's actually a second one over there. I think there's a third one over yonder. Yeah, you see that line in the river? That's not the river breaking or anything. That's the game trying to do a reflection off of another pixel that's hanging right above it. But first things first. We got wheelbarrow number, what is it now? We got 1, 2, this should be wheelbarrow number 3, I think. While we're here, let me talk. Model is null. What? Huh. Why does it give me a talk option to it with debug visible? What is it in scene selection? Buildings, Petrovo, and Treehouse 1 outdoor. So trying to figure out what's going on with that debug visible talk option, I was not able to recreate it. Not on this one, not on any other one. So I have no idea. I don't know if I had a setting turned on or I put in a weird console command at some point. I don't know. That other pixel is over there. Let's go over there. We got wheelbarrow number 4. This one is marked as Neighbor Regions Zavodi Buildings Outdoor Objects card. Hey, so I wanted to show this off. I was testing to see if this wheelbarrow is in any way related to the one in the guts. If we turn on Can Any Travel, which allows us to fast travel from just the map screen by just clicking anywhere. So long as we have camera fly turned on, when we load up the next area, we will stay in camera fly in the same location as our previous spot. And yeah, that appears to be the same wheelbarrow. Obviously the polyhedron's not there, but nifty little trick. And that last pixel should be over there somewhere. Oh, we see the reflection before we see the pixel, which is very funny. And here we have wheelbarrow number 5. Or is it number 4 because the previous one turned out to actually be number 2. So the government building is this rectangle in the ground for the basement. Over here in the Earth District, there is this one weird building that's just out in the open. It is marked as N10 House 2 in the Dubilchiki region. There is this one seesaw bull object. This seems to be the same toy that we find in the playground in the infected district. Those creepy doll mannequin things are not here anymore. That tree seems to be smaller too. And the door to this gate is missing. And a lot of people are gonna ask about the train station itself. This is what it's like on the inside. The side tunnels are definitely a little strange, but we are never really meant to be down here. Vlad the Younger's house is here, but there's nothing special about it. The little walkway that exists in Pathologic 2 that gives you access to the inside is not here. And the front door to the building doesn't work, nor should we expect it to. Oh, and I nearly forgot. The Guts map has the stairway to heaven. We obviously can't get over there because there's a big fence around where the play area is, but we can obviously get there with cheats. Let's get a pretty good view over everything here. Everything's on fire, and the little baby cradle is still over here, like in Pathologic 2. I think that's most everything. Let's move on. Okay, here we are finally in Stillwater, this final area of the demo, and we are officially in Act 3. There's a couple of things to show off on the ground here, but the first thing I'm going to mention is that, as many of you already know, we can come here earlier. As soon as we get the freedom to leave the theater at the beginning of Act 2, we can ignore Filat's quest and come here instead of Skinner's. We still go through the gut, and when we load in, we find that those 2 guardsmen that are normally here are not here. And when we get to Stillwater, we find that the door is closed. So there's not much to do except to go back and to do the actual quest. And when we travel anywhere from Stillwater, we have to go through the gut. That's just the only path in quarantine. From here, of course, if we click on the gut itself, we will travel to the gut as our final destination, and we'll have all the gates in the gut open. But if we click on one of the other districts past the gut, we of course get stopped at the gut, and we have to play through it in a travel state. As we know, we should be familiar with this concept by now. But one quirk of doing it this way is that the gate behind us is now closed, which is the only way to look at it. And as far as I understand, this is the only gate in quarantine that has this style. One funny aspect about this gate, however, is because we are never intended to actually like see it, or that they forgot that this is an actual interaction that we can do. They forgot to give this gate collision, and we can walk into the fast travel loading zone. But because the game has us in a travel state, we can't actually change our pathway here. Clicking on things does not fast travel us. But we can escape out of this menu no problem. So that's good. So earlier today when I was recording this section, I initially had a memory of using this gate to fast travel successfully, which after several hours of debugging, I determined that I must have had Can Any Travel turned on, which allows us to fast travel from anywhere just using the map. But in those hours that I was debugging, trying to figure out how I did that, I found this weird glitch. I'm still not sure exactly how it works. It just skips the gut entirely. And when I was debugging to figure out what this glitch was, I found another glitch. What? What? Why do I keep finding new things? No. Why do I keep finding new things? No, I'm going to... No, wait. I spent my entire Monday just sticking around with all these gates, and I just wanted to show off this one pretty one. Okay, so here's my bug report. This glitch only happens when we are traveling through multiple dangerous districts, and it only happens when we enter and leave our starting district really quickly. So quickly that the map we're in doesn't fully load in. And this other glitch happens when we are in a travel state and we simply open up our map while next to the intended open exit. Okay, back on topic. We were going over Stillwater. I am so close to being done with this project, and there's just more and more and more. Where was I? There's a playground over here. We have another one of these child spinners.
Can't think like that.
This works fine. We get apathy. It says condition is false because I have debug is visible on, but here, it's off. Yeah, it works fine. We got this other child spinner thing. I don't know what it's called. It also works. It also gives us apathy. This swing, however, is again one of those broken swings that don't work. Otherwise, it would give us mania. Why do some playground equipment give us mania while others give us apathy? I don't know. That's just how they have it here. The actual play area for the Stillwater map is pretty limited. If we just look at the map, it highlights this region with all these houses as well, but the actual play area is just the Stillwater lot, or park, maybe we can call it. There isn't much to show within the play area itself without some debug stuff and out of bounds stuff, but one thing that's worth pointing out is that this door out here is closed, and if we open our map, it's also marked as a fast travel gate. And underneath it, in the step, they have chosen to mark the water tower as its own region, which I guess that watchtower is actually a water tower. I don't know why it has windows, but apparently that's a water tower. In all the Pathologic games, in 1 and 2, it's always kind of been there, and it's always been kind of like a, oh hey, maybe something happens over in that cool tower. Maybe we have to go find the changeling or something over there, but we never do. We never have to go there for anything. But now that it's an actual region in the game, it sounds like there's a purpose for it now, or at least the area around it. There's Var's house. There's no way for us to actually go in it, but it's there. Oh, yeah, that's one thing I can talk about. That's the new polyhedron. Up until now, we have seen the polyhedron on the Skinners and Hindquarters map, but that version was literally a copy and paste from Pathologic 2. This here is the new polyhedron, and it's worth a closer look. Oh, and by the way, I should show off the map. It is again a big old square. Uniquely, the Stillwater map doesn't have the river being traced outside of the map. On the other maps that we've seen up until now, we see an underlayer of water rolling through the area outside of the square of the map. But here on the Stillwater map, there's nothing, it just ends. And that's just because there's no water. There's literally no water on this map. It's just not loaded in. There's a weird little bit of texture right over here in the water where the circle tool they used when they were making this hill left a little artifact right there. Kind of funny. But here's a polyhedron. It's a huge upgrade from what we saw in Pathologic 2. Firstly, we don't have some of those dangly bits that there was on the very top, and there was another dangly bit right above the entrance, kind of just hanging down like a cocoon of some kind. Those are all gone. The spokes that hold up the paper sections are now rendered and made out of steel and rebar, and the joints on them are also these little clamp joints. That is a huge upgrade from what we saw in Pathologic 2, and especially in Pathologic 1, where it's just kind of one big shape. Now it's actually kind of like sorta believable and realistic object. Like one of us could make this after a trip to Home Depot. New textures, new drawings, they kind of look like canvas now instead of paper, which is interesting. All the platforms are slightly different and have been moved around a little bit. This entrance here is still the same one in Pathologic 2. They just copy and paste it up. Like here, I can show you, for instance, like this asset is from Pathologic 2. They might update this when the full game releases, I don't know. But you see how these sticks are one object, kind of like just stuck together, and it's like kind of like paper mache material, whereas the new material is all these steel elements with canvas. Major upgrade. I really dig the new direction. Over here near this entrance, I don't know if you can see, but there is something floating in this empty space here, and it's a little paper crane. Now, here's the funny thing about this paper crane. Players who play Pathologic 2 might remember a paper crane at the very top of the polyhedron there. If we try and match the images, like before and after image, between this polyhedron and the one in Pathologic 2, it seems like this crane's location is exactly the same, and it's just the polyhedron around it that's been changed. So the reason why this guy is floating and the reason why this guy is even here at all is because somewhere in the process they copy and pasted the Pathologic 2 file in here and then built the polyhedron around it. I really like this, actually. This is really cute. This is really magical. I hope they don't move this. Now I'm thinking about it, they'll probably move it over here. What's something else I can show off? With camera fly, we can of course no clip into the polyhedron, and inside is a curious little thing. It's one more of those sails, but it's just inside of it. It's not connected to anything. This is when they were designing this, they were clicking and dragging. Looks like it's a copy and pasted asset of one of these maybe, and they just had this loaded in and eventually decided that there's no spot for it, so instead of deleting it, they just hid it inside of the asset itself. Or maybe when they were designing this, they had this here and they were copy and pasting from it. There's not a lot of objects inside of buildings, and this is one of them. I don't know how visible it is, because I'm not convinced I see it, but I just know it's out there. But there is something out here. There it is. There's a little pixel over there. Let's go check it out. You know it. You love it. We got our last wheelbarrow. This is, I guess, wheelbarrow 5? Or is it 6? No, it's back down to 5 after we determined that one wheelbarrow was the same one. Yeah, so wheelbarrow number 5. Here. There we go. That's a screenshot for you. Wheelbarrow number 5. That polyhedron looks freaking dope. I really like this version. This wheelbarrow is connected to one of the buildings, but I don't remember which building it's connected to. Building N10 House 6. Let me go look for it. Okay, I found it. N10 House 6. It's this one over here, right by the cathedral and Stillwater. Again, there's nothing unique about the houses that the wheelbarrows are connected with. But one cute thing about this house and the house next to it is that they've got these, the game calls them urns. Prop urns. But they've got these here. I don't know what they're doing here. They're like above the ground slightly, and inside this house they're here as well. I've been checking the insides of all the buildings in quarantine, and these two are the only ones I found anything inside of. I might be wrong. I might have missed a house or two. You guys are welcome to explore and find something and share. There's still a few things to explore out of bounds on this map, but let's do it with debug move on so we can get a jump. First thing to show off is right out here at the entrance to the bridge plaza are these double gates. These are brand new. These were not here in Pathologic 2. These are really cool looking. Obviously these are going to be fast travel points for the actual bridge square area, and through it at the actual bridge square we notice a big patch of dirt all around the cathedral. If we go back into camera fly and go inside this dirt, we'll notice that there is ground underneath it, but for whatever reason they've decided to make the cathedral a couple of steps lower than the rest of the environment. This is a big change from Pathologic 2, where the cathedral was actually elevated. It was a couple of steps above street level. Now it has sunk down. We go back into first person mode. There is collision with that lower level. If we step down, we drop down a little bit. And behind here, the grass texture kind of glitches in and out, and we can actually see the tile brickwork underneath. The doors to the cathedral do not open. They don't even give us a prompt. And all the collision seems to be working just fine. We can climb on top, which is fun. So if we wanted to, we could recreate a certain scene from the video games. It's got a pretty nice view. Moving on, the canes. So the 3 cane houses. Maria's house is sadly non-interactable in either entrance. There just isn't a prompt. The other houses though, both Victor's house and Georgie's, will do that one funny thing where it fails to load but gives us their theme music. Here's something that's worth pointing out. So the bridge over to the polyhedron isn't loaded in, but that's fine. We got jump buttons. But check out this collision here. I'm just going forward and I start clipping into the staircase. I keep clipping, and then here we are at the very top. Oh, I made it this time. I tried to follow it and then I fall down. It seems like the collision is not mapped to what is visually there. I have a suspicion that this collision mesh is actually for the old polyhedron, and they just never updated with the new model, which makes me think that it's possible to get up there. I just have to like look at images of the original polyhedron, unless of course it just cuts off right there. Okay, so I am dual wielding Pathologic 2 in one screen and Pathologic 3 in the other screen, and I really think that's what's going on. So I come up the initial... Look at this. In Pathologic 2, it's a straight shot, staircase going up. There's a little platform here, and where it stays the same level, more or less, and then 11 o'clock staircase up. In Pathologic 2, we go up to a point where the elevation doesn't really go up anymore. We turn 11 degrees and then we go up, and look, we went up. Okay, up here, and then we turn maybe 230. No, I fell off. With scene selection, we can kind of tell where the collision is by slowly moving our camera around. And when the collision is in front of us, it gets selected in the top left. So we can kind of tell that it's at least somewhat in front of us. Except 4 times when it's not, I guess. Seems very promising. Seems very promising. I'm on something. Nope. Oh no. That'd be really cool if somebody gets on top of there with just the invisible collision. That'd be crazy. Like, imagine navigating this entire staircase invisibly all the way up to the very top just to see where it matches up with the new one. That'd be a crazy challenge to watch. And one last thing I wanted to show off was on this north side, above the Kane's backyard, is this gate that doesn't have a fence. I don't know, it looks pretty to me. I like it. There appears to be this weird invisible wall here that is just loose, and it's preventing me from going forward. Here you can see me holding down W and the input in the top left, but obviously I'm not going in it. But we can just easily go around it. I don't know. I'm not sure why that's there. It's on this side of the map, so maybe there's a playground or something. Maybe they just put that there as a, just to be able to put that somewhere. This is another little scenic little area. Oh hey, it's got the little symbol on the top. That's cute. Let's move on finally. We're in the final stretch of things. When compared to Pathologic 2, the insides of Stillwater is a huge upgrade. I believe this little step up is new. That's near the exit. The door here is closed, and it remains closed for all of quarantine. There's nothing really inside of that door. We are meant to explore until we find Eva, everyone's favorite cottagecore trad wife. The lighting's especially pretty right now. a bunch of tools here on this table that we can't interact with. All of them show off unavailable in demo. No debugging is going to change this, at least not any that I know. Let's go into free camera. Watch your eyes, everybody. It's gonna be blinding for a bit. And here we are. Here is Stillwater Indoors. This mystery room that we never get to go into because it's always locked. It is textured inside, it's just not furnished in any way. I like to think of this as Eva's bedroom, as she supposedly lives here, but we don't really see where her actual room or bed is. And since this is the only room that we don't have access to, this is probably where she sleeps, in this big empty room. I don't think I've found anything. Wow. The suitcase is textured on the inside. That's very specific. This little study is very, very cozy. Oh, here's one thing I can show off. There's this globe over here. They did not expect any of us to actually look too closely at this. Clearly the texture is not mapped onto the sphere in any correct way, because this looks like the equator is going through Estonia, which I don't think that's correct. Africa is all the way down here. Yeah, Canada is on the equator here. That's not right. Upstairs, as we all know, is Daniel's space. When the lighting is just right, there's this little like dust firefly effect, which looks very pretty. Hidden behind Daniel's decree screen are an armillary sphere and a Newton's cradle. Is there anything written on these notes? Oh no, there's not. This would have been a perfect spot to put a little secret. What does this say? Ars longa vita brevis. This. That's cool. There's a little calendar, 3rd of September. I wonder if that changes from day to day. That might be interesting to investigate. It does not. There's so many little knickknacks to look at. These glasses are stretched and are clipping into the desk. Very fun. Very cool. The map, as most people know, is not reflective of the actual map that we see in the game, depicting a lot more settlements out into the steppe and settlements across the river. Oh, hey, there's a... That's right, there used to be a building right in front of Stillwater, right by that fence there. That's interesting. Everybody should know about this little guy here, this little spinny. This is one of the interactables that give us apathy. Upstairs, over by the observatory window, is where Daniel's bedroom is. He just lives up on this loft. Very cozy, isn't it? Oh, hey. There's a little polka dots in this briefcase. That's cute. Oh, that's really cute. Nice. This area wasn't flooded. It was tiled, but there was no water here. And nor did it have a clock in the very bottom. Alright, let's move on. Talking to Eva here will progress time. One thing I haven't talked about yet is how Daniel and Artemy now look in Pathologic 3. A lot of people have talked about it and their disappointment with how pasty they look now. Why do they change how they look and stuff? When we look at the models back to back, they do appear to be the same actual model, but either the textures or the lighting or something makes them look like they do in Pathologic 3. At this point, after this conversation, the clock is now 2100, which is 9 o'clock. I wonder if we start this conversation after 9 o'clock, will it time travel us back to 9, or will it stay the same? That'd be a funny thing to test. Apparently it will. Talking to Eva travels through time. Going outside, we will be hit by the angry mob, who will start throwing Molotovs at us. But as some players have discovered, there will be certain spots in the ground where we can stand where we will not be affected by the fire. In earlier builds of the game, the door going back into Stillwater was locked for whatever reason. Because that didn't really make sense in the narrative, they reopened it so we can technically open that door back and go back inside. Before that, we just had to die in this part of the narrative. But yeah, this spot where I'm standing now is safe. You will not get hit by the fire. There's another spot over yonder, over here, that will also not be affected by the fire. Some players who are looking for an escape will see that open gateway over there on the left side and be tempted to go there. But as you can see, there is a stick sticking out, and there is a man just waiting to poke us with it. Under some mysterious conditions, you can sometimes walk past this guy, but I don't know what causes this glitch. I've only ever encountered it twice, and have no idea how to recreate it reliably. If we go into debug move or even camera fly, we can escape this little kill box. And outside of that initial area, there's nothing really different. What I mean is like different districts have multiple different versions of the district. Like there's the regular version, there's the infected version, and there's a dangerous mob burnt version. This is not the burnt version. This is just a regular map with more assets loaded in. The burnt mob version of Stillwater map is not in Quarantine, but the infected version is. And we'll get there when we get there. No, this version is the same old map. So to progress, we have to either die or go back through the front door. I am running low on health, and I wonder what happens if our health just ticks down from mania. Will we progress, or will we have to restart the area and have to specifically die to the mob? Let's find out. No, it progresses. Progresses just fine. Oh, no, we crash. I wonder if that's because I just had it running for a while. No, that time it worked. That time it worked fine. No, it works fine. Yeah, it works fine. Wonder what happened. Cool. So we're meant to talk to Eva again. And then we are meant to go upstairs to gain access to the decrees. When we get upstairs, we meet Sticky. Tells about decrees. The map up here, it seems to be that same concept art map from the other side of the room, but this time areas of it are marked off as being either dangerous or infected, which does not line up with what we see in Quarantine. I wonder if in the final build of Quarantine this map gets updated as time goes on and the districts change, or if it's just going to be a static image for the entire playthrough. Oh, I never realized, but this is in Russian. Yeah, this is just a static image that they put up as to show you, like, hey, this is where the decrees are. And then we click on it, and then the actual decree screen shows up. Here we get to get our first look at the decree system. To progress, all we really need to do is to just remove this quarantine, and we can just leave. Adding decrees does not actually do anything in Quarantine. And then the Cain child spawns. We do not need to talk to Khan in any way, so we're not gonna bother. Oh hey, the eyeballs track where Daniel is standing, and if we go into camera fly, the eyes still track where Daniel's body is, not where the camera is. Their eyeballs are very glossy. That's kind of unnerving. Alright, from here we are meant to go back downstairs, go outside, and into the infected version of Stillwater, which is all green tinted, and there's these bonfires here. There's still not much different in this version of the map as compared to the regular version of the map, but it's still pretty fun. to prevent us from fast traveling out of here. And this appears to be unique to this version of the map. They put this wagon here to block off the loading zone for the oh, and we can still clip into it. Ooh la la. I can't imagine going anywhere would be any different though. Oh, it doesn't even let us fast travel. Interesting. Huh. Very neat. To progress from here, we are meant to talk to the Shabnak, who has a wonderful little animated sequence where she comes in as a monster and then transforms into the human form. And as of patch 4, the camera shakes a whole lot during this section when we're next to her.
You feel me because you've...
We can turn the camera shake off in the debug menu. I'm not a big fan of the camera shaker, but it's fine, I guess. Okay, so kind of a funny thing happens. If we go back inside and then go back outside, the bonfires are gone. And this is the regular version of Stillwater.
I am not your foe.
The green tint is gone and everything. The bonfires are gone. The Shabnak's here, and the gate is closed, but still very funky. Going back in, Eva does not talk to us, and when we are meant to just go back upstairs, talk to the Tragedian. Talking to the Tragedian turns on time travel. From here, it does not matter which day we choose, but different days will have different opening lines at the start of the day. Days that are further away from us will take more resources to click on. In Quarantine, there are 2 versions of the indoor Stillwater. There's a version we just saw, and then there's a version marked as days 1 through 3. That version of Stillwater has cloth over everything, as if Daniel and Eva only recently moved into the building. And we can see a little bit of it in the post-game section. Do we have enough amalgam for day 1? We do not. How about day 2? No. We can do day 3 though. This is the little endgame screen where it tells us to wishlist the game and to do the survey or whatever. But we can just press escape, and then we are plotted in back into Stillwater. And if we quickly look down, we get to see the version of the map with the cloth.
Don't you think my colors faded?
We don't get too much time with this, however, because Eva immediately starts talking to us. And once we are out of this conversation, then we are booted again to the main menu. And that's Quarantine. So on some of the text on the screen, I mentioned how talking to the Tragedian gives us an amalgam shard that we can use to time travel back. I wanted to test if we can soft lock ourselves out, because if our apathy is low, like if our bar is all the way to the left, we will lose amalgam over time. So I was wondering if we could mess up and lose the amalgam that we need to finish the game. And apparently after this point, after talking to the Tragedian, we just can't change our metabolism in any way. Like here, I'm gonna use a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, it went down that time. Went down that time too, and it goes straight back up to center. All that just so we don't soft lock us from not being able to finish the game. Which brings up the next question. What happens when you don't finish the game and you let the timer just go and go and go? So after the timer hits midnight, it will still say that's day 5, but the timer will just start over. And somewhere around 2 a.m., the game just forces a suicide on Daniel. And one last thing. What does it look like when we jump off the map? I set up a timer on the right to keep track of how long we've been falling. In most 3D games, as we get further and further out from the center of the map, the game becomes less and less stable. Pathologic 3 is no different. For a good while, we don't see much of anything until we look up and down a little bit, which manipulates the camera and Daniel's model to kind of sort of go forward in space. Doing this reveals that Daniel's arms are always loaded in, except they're in T-pose and off screen at all times, when they're not in front of the camera, that is. Looking down also reveals that our weapons and items, like the prototype and pistol, are always loaded in. Again, just off screen and hidden. This obviously gets progressively more and more flickery and glitchy, but nothing else really changes. I let this run for a little while before eventually calling it quits. Let's try that again on a different map, but this time let's turn on debug weapons, which gives us all the items with infinite ammo, as well as matches. And if we press H, we get this version of the prototype. The prototype we see in quarantine is called Spray in the debug, and this one is called Silver 2, whatever that means. But here we go. For a little bit, the same thing happens as the first time we tried this. The game becomes more and more jittery and unstable, yada yada yada. But once we move the camera up and down a little bit to manipulate the camera's position in relation to Daniel's body, we get to see something funny. Every item that we can hold in Daniel's hands in the first person have their own set of arms that are in T-pose off screen when they're not being used. The animation for taking out our gun and putting it away is pretty funny because the gun just kind of floats down to the ground and back up. And sometimes when we fire a pistol, the flash comes out of the gun that's on the bottom instead of the one that's in our hand. The reload animation is pretty funny too, as the bullet tries its best to stay where it's supposed to be. Around the 5-minute mark, I lose track of Daniel's model, not necessarily because of how long we've been here, but because I looked up and down a little too much that Daniel's body decided not to be there anymore. These videos are a good amount of fun to make, and allow me to flex my knowledge of a hyper niche topic that has very much become a hyperfixation of mine. And as it's a piece of software that may only be momentarily readily available, I like to think these videos give a bit of a completionist archival edge to them. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one where I go deeper into the debug tools. But I think I'm gonna stay away from these big long form videos. They just take a little bit too much time and too much effort, and not enough instant gratification. So the next ones I'm gonna try and make a lot shorter and to the point.